And joining me right now is Deontay Damper and Ashley McGirt, my girl from Washington Therapy Fund. What's up, y'all?
What's up?
Hey.
Happy to be here.
Y'all have me real emotional. All the stuff you were saying, I'm just so honored to be back here and see this new space.
Right, it's getting there. I mean, I feel like O said, this is phase one. We're almost, it's like one thing after another. So thankful that we'll have our fiber optics, because that's going to play a huge role in everything. But really, everything that I said, I meant it, because the truth of the matter is that COVID is hitting us all in a really different way. And it's difficult for a lot of our families in the Black community in particular. And when we think about how that hits, we talked about the rise of depression, the rise of suicide. I'm seeing it in younger people. You know what I mean? And even since we did that special, I've learned so much more since then. So, let us hear from you guys. What's up with Washington Therapy Fund? I'll start with you, Deontay. What brought you into Washington Therapy Fund, and what things are you excited about?
Well, honestly, I already knew Ashley working in community, and I do a lot of peer mentorship through. I did it through DLC. I was going inside of the courts, and this didn't have anything to do with my affiliations or organizations. It's just in the wellness of community. Creating those service plans, one thing that was missing was there are no Black therapists. I think we make Black therapists make about 3 to 4% of the population.
0.02%.
Right. I know it was something like
percent.
that. But what got me in is just making sure that my community gets access to that. Even lived experience of that. But it was more so of making sure community got access to care. So when Ashley and I started working on different programs, it's like, I'm working on this. Well, thoughts become things, and I'm just so happy we're almost a year in this. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this. And it's more so of just not just for the adults, but more so for our youth. Yeah. We know that with the shootings that have impacted our community members, and keep in mind, our youth weren't just impacted by the gun violence; they were activists out here in our community. So when we talk about that, what does that trauma look like? How do we heal that? How do we help them find wellness? And WA therapy is exactly what that is.
I think, when I think back to the beginning conversations we were having, Ashley, about Washington Therapy Fund and what it was you were trying to do, it just was like, wait a minute, what? This doesn't already exist. I remember having that kind of aha moment and, understanding that it was so necessary. How has it been for you? Because now, a full year, so many people now really know about Washington Therapy Fund and that this is an avenue for them.
Yeah, it's really emotional. Next week is actually going to be a full year since we started, August 22nd. So it's been exciting. It's been joyful. It's been all of the things. It's been a lot of work. I'm really happy that the community has recognized the need that we need to show up for community, our youth, our adults, our elders, everyone. We all have mental health. We all experience stress. And then COVID-19 really just exacerbated everything that we were going through, our grief, our stress on top of the protests, and all of that trauma. And what we don't talk about is how that trauma is stored in our body. Yes. And how it's really breaking us down, especially as Black people. And so I'm really excited about all of the things that we're able to do, especially with this new funding from HSD. So we're just super grateful for the city of Seattle to fund us and help us grow and build our capacity to keep community safe.
Absolutely. Well, that's really interesting, because we've been talking about following the money here on the Morning Update show. Yeah. And, HSD funding, went to 33 different organizations. You guys are a part of that. Why is it important to you guys to be recognized by the city now to expand what you guys are doing?
There's so many angles. Like, after what we have been through in this climate, asking to be visible. And we're not talking about, and keep in mind, shout out to all our community members. We are inclusive in our plight, but we're talking about Black lives. I don't want to water it down by saying any other entities of what you think we are. We're talking about Black lives, and for us to be a part of the history that not only WA Therapy is going to create, but the other 32 organizations that are a part of that. We're about to be a movement, not a moment. So when we're talking about wellness as a movement, not a moment. You know, you guys have had thousands of people come on this show and they have talked about wellness. We're all a part of that movement. So just to be a part of that, and the things that we've already been working on previously. We started with our youth, and we're going to start going through the whole diaspora of Black. See, we have a lot of different community orgs that we love, but we're talking about the diaspora of Black, LGBTQIA, our elders, the incarcerated, our women, and those who identify, let me look in the camera, those who identify as. We're talking about the diaspora of our community. So it's just a great opportunity. What do you think, Ashley?
And it's so powerful to see this shift in how we look at community safety, because we often would go, well, not really the Black community, we wouldn't really look to the police, but I feel like community overall, when you think about who's keeping the community safe, okay, I'm gonna call 911, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, but this is making us pivot and see different ways in how we can keep community safe. And part of that is gonna be going through individual and group therapy, because when I look at violence in the community, I think if this person had the tools to manage their anger, would they have done something different? Would they still have used a gun and picked up that for a choice of how they want to recognize and choose their behaviors? What would they do differently had they had the tools, had they recognized the signs and symptoms, their anxiety, their depression, their trauma? So we're able to look at safety through a new lens. We're not putting it all on therapists, but this is part of the way that we heal and part of the way that we keep our families safe.
Oh, Shay.
I agree. I think, experiencing certain things personally, right? And we talked about that during our special. But for me, there's such a dire need for people to be comfortable to even see therapy as an option. And how much of your work at Raw Therapy Fund is really to open up just that door, even a crack, to get people to understand we want you to be cared for in this space. We want you to feel comfortable to get to the place of vulnerability that is necessary for that healing. Ashley.
That is the work. That's 1000% the work. That is our mission, our vision. That is what we want the community to know, that it is okay to see a therapist, that it is okay not to be okay, and that there are tools, there are resources, there are therapists who look like you. We're out there. I know it's a small percentage that we talked about, and I want other people to know that they can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. And part of our mission is to fund up and coming clinicians, because it's pretty expensive. I probably have $100,000 in student loans. I'm not gonna lie to you. But part of our mission through the foundation is to be able to take that burden off of our community, so that they can get into this field and that they're not detoured by the finances or the debt or all of the things. And once we get past that stigma of seeing a therapist, the number one barrier that I've heard is, well, now I can't afford you. And me as a therapist, this is a business. While I would do it for free if I could still sustain my lifestyle, I still have to maintain my business. So with the Washington Therapy Fund, we're able to provide free therapy and also pay therapists an adequate wage. With this money that we've received from the city, we're actually increasing our rate from $125 an hour to $130 an hour, and hopefully be able to increase it more, because we want to compensate our therapists. We understand that it is hard work and this is a business, and we value them. Well, I know I'm Converge's favorite therapist. There's other therapists out there, and they are grinding, and a lot of them are working for the bare minimum, and they're gonna get burnt out. And those are the therapists who we need. But through our fund, we can make sure that we're funding them, we're paying them, and they can show up and serve the community without worrying, well, how are they gonna pay their bills? How are they gonna keep the lights on? Because they wanna show up for community.
I would just also like to add one thing that I do love about WA Therapy Fund and the board and the members that we have a part of this. It's hard to find Black therapists. And the thing about it is, it's hard to find your circle of community. So even in that area of physicians in that space, they see each other. They're able to refer. It's a great way to network with one another as well. And sometimes some people might need a marriage counselor and might not have that. And keep in mind, I'm not a licensed therapist in this space. I'm certified peer support, but at the same time, they're able to find those accesses to that. And another thing that I can also say that that stands out, that why I love WA therapy and Black therapists in general, is that we know that this year we've been impacted by a lot, and there are other therapists that have cultural competence, but not cultural humility. And we're talking about COVID, and when we talk about COVID, we talk about the Tulsa experiment, you know. So when we think about that, we go through that trauma. The loss of Lorenzo Anderson this past year was a lot for a lot of our community members. That was and the other people that we've lost. That's another trauma. Then you mean to tell me I lost my job? Then you mean to tell me that I'm sitting in the house? Then you mean to tell me that I'm in my house and I don't know how to handle this? So I'm talking about that humility to know where we're at and to help people navigate through that. So
well, I agree. I think so much of it is about, you know, we talk about the term cultural responsiveness, and it gets thrown out in these general ways, but really WA Therapy Fund is exactly what we're talking about when we say cultural responsiveness. One of the things that I think keeps people from going to therapy is they're afraid that that person on the other side of the aisle or in that other chair next to, you know, across from them does not have that. And WA Therapy Fund is saying, no, we have people that do understand, that grew up in similar lived conditions as you. Our skin really does do something different in terms of the ways that we are received at a global level. And so it brings in a different level of understanding that allows then for that person to have that rooted cultural responsiveness. So I love how you say the humility of it all, because honestly, so much of it is about them being able to identify how it's affecting them. And then in their clinician way, you know, their trained mind now, you're able to say, no, I understand this because not only am I Black, but also because now I have the tools to help guide you through it. And then my therapy friends have the tools to guide me through it. So I love that there is this cycle of healing happening. You know, there's a lot of great healing happening out there. And actually, I know you've been a part of some of the other ways that folks have been healing, you know, conducting healing circles and looking at different ways to bring community members into healing that may lead them really to understanding they need therapy. How has that been for you, being out there in community and being able to be in different spaces around what it looks like to bring healing to the people?
I feel like I'm the bridge. I'm the bridge because I am licensed under the state of Washington. So I have to follow the umbrella of our laws and ethics while also incorporating other community healers who may not be licensed therapists, but they're doing things within the community to help us heal. And so because I utilize a holistic approach, you know, we can bring in things like a Reiki therapist, or I do a lot of work with the amazing Arisha Day at IACT, and we do African-centered healing circles, and I'm able to bring in my clinical skills to that arena while also looking at the ways in which African peoples have healed before, you know, Sigmund Freud stepped on the scene, or the APA was even the American Psychological Association. How were our people healing? How were Native Americans healing? So I feel like I'm the bridge to incorporate the variety of the ways in which our community heals. And also I want to speak to the cultural responsiveness, because that is what our organization is all about. And part of us is we make sure that every clinician who comes on board is vetted. We ensure that they are anti-racist. We ensure that they have skills and competencies to understand what racial trauma is. I provide training to these clinicians if they don't already have it. We refer outside to institutions like the People's Institute, Undoing Institutional Racism, and making sure that they understand these concepts. We also work with clinicians who are not Black, because the reality is there's not enough Black therapists to go around to everyone. And also because we are trained under a Eurocentric ideology, and a lot of our evidence-based practices were done for and by white people. Not every Black clinician has the knowledge or the skill sets to really incorporate different trainings around Black people. So we make sure that individuals have those trainings. We bring in the experts. If it's not myself, it's other individuals from the community or across the globe, to make sure that all of the clinicians who are going to be serving our community have these skills.
You know what? I love that, because it doesn't stop with the degree, the education of oneself is so inclusive. And, you know, shout out to the People's Institute because they are doing some phenomenal work. I'll be in that Undoing Institutionalized Racism training next week with my team. And so I'm really looking forward to it because I keep hearing so many great things about it. And
It's
really,
the best training.
yeah, I keep hearing that. I really do. And it's exciting for me. You know, Deontay, when you say, you know, a certified peer specialist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been out here in community doing a lot of great work in that regard. Let people understand what that really means and how you've been able to serve community with that as a specialty that you have.
I think it's just with lived experience. You know, I have overcome the obstacles of addiction. I'm a person in recovery. I'm a person that has been incarcerated. I live with the health disparity myself. And and it's because of that health disparity, it helped change my life. It helped center me in coming back to community and saying, this is what I've learned. How can I assist you? So through that, I started my work at Pocan. That turned into going into doing the grassroots of what Pocan has been doing forever, right? And that's going into the courtrooms. I'm thinking I'm Annalise Keating coming in there with the service plans. And people might think that that's small, but it was such a big deal to be coming full circle and help navigating my people in that space, which led to a position for a couple of years with Department of Corrections. But at the end of the day, it came down to, and even with the other organizations that I've been a part of, but really those setbacks was my setup for my comeback. I left Seattle for a really long time, but coming back, I felt a lot healed. And still in a person who's not perfect, I'm still in the space of still helping to be that compass for community members. And that's whatever navigation looks like. O sees me all the time. I'm always posting housing stuff. I'm always posting this place is hiring because I want to help. I want to show up for my community. We have a lot of people who say they're going to be there, but no different from the organization that I am with now, as well as what you guys are doing. It makes a hell of an impact when you authentically show up because people can see through the BS.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I think I really adore about Seattle is this huge, amazing network of Black care.
Yeah, absolutely.
It comes in the form of all different shapes, sizes, forms, everything, organizations, individuals, institutions, you name it. But I realized when I leave Washington State, I don't see it everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. You have a lot of Black folks still working in silos, not understanding who the players are in the community that are doing great work. And one of the great things about us here is that we do have that understanding. Mm-hmm. We know, we actually experience each other. We grew up together. Our families know each other. I mean, this is a real connectivity. Mm-hmm. And I got to ask you guys, for WA Therapy Fund, WA Therapy Fund is now just a part of this amazing family of Black care. And before I let you go, I just want both of you to be able to speak towards why it's important for you guys to continue on, to expand, to grow in that same mindset of Black care. I'll start with you, Deontay.
I think it's really important just to make sure that you are just working on the wellness. I mean, I think that it speaks volumes for our community of where we're coming out of, but it's going to speak even more volumes of where you can go. And to do that, you have to make sure that you're, a wise philosopher once said, how you going to win if you ain't right within?
Okay.
Miss Lauren Hill, but it's real. And I mean, as we get older, we understand what that looks like. So finding a therapist, or a peer mentor, or being navigated into what your wellness looks like is something that you won't be doing for a temporary time. Your wellness is something that you'll be doing and working on for the rest of your life. And to do that, I think that WA Therapy Fund, again, I say compass, because it's a great way to help navigate you in that direction. What's that one commercial? We got questions, you got questions, we got answers. We don't have all the answers, but we'll help you figure out to navigate you through that space. So WA Therapy Fund is an essential compass for Black community.
Amazing. Ashley.
Yeah.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No, it was wonderful. Quoting the great philosopher. Go ahead. But we've never collectively healed. One of my mentors, Dr. Joy DeGroot, she really talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome and this legacy of healing from American chattel slavery, how no one ever sat down the free Black people after they had just watched their brothers and sisters be lynched. And then we had Jim Crow, then we had mass incarceration, and all of these things that we've been witnessing still to this day. I mean, they found Kendrick Johnson's body with his organs missing, wrapped in a mat. So these are things that are happening present day in our community. George Floyd is screaming out for his mother for 9 minutes while being choked by a police officer. This is vicarious trauma. This is secondary trauma. This is trauma in general. And so we never really sat down our community like, hey, how did you process that? How did your body process it? Because it becomes so normalized to us as Black people. You know, we've seen Eric Garner get choked to death. So it's just like, it's normalized, but it's breaking down our bodies and it's killing us. I did hospice therapy for a number of years, and the majority of my hospice patients who were Black and brown, they were on hospice from like 30 to 50 years of age. That was their median lifespan, passing away from chronic stress-related illnesses. Meanwhile, my white hospice patients were living well into their hundreds. They are having longer lives. And when I look at a culmination of their lifespan, I see unprocessed trauma, I see depression, I see anxiety, I see untreated mental illness. And there's this huge stigma in our community around mental illness, mental health, because of the way we have been treated overall. I mean, they practice lobotomies on Native Americans and African American people. So we're very distrusting of the system, especially as we talk about vaccinations, the Tuskegee experiment. There's a whole medical apartheid that has occurred. So I recognize that I'm working within an oppressive system from the inside to dismantle it and decolonize. And I use that with respect to our Indigenous people and how we are really just uprooting the normalization that white is the norm and that this is the way that we have to treat and we have to heal, because there's different ways of healing. And so the Washington Therapy Fund Foundation really acknowledges that and really wants to ensure that our community is healing. And there's a variety of ways that we do that. You know, I'm an eclectic therapist, so I use a number of different modalities. We have a whole team that uses different approaches and ways, but the reality is we've never really sat down and healed. So that's why this is necessary. This is why we are so grateful for the funding and our amazing, generous donors. We wouldn't be here without you. We are completely 100% community funded. This is how we've been able to provide free therapy, how we've been able to pay therapists and hire staff. We're in the process of hiring. We have currently open 2 amazing positions. We're looking for an administrator and an administrative assistant. So definitely reach out to us if you have the skill sets and you want to work with our organization, because we need you.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, you guys just phenomenal. You know, really, I'm so inspired by this work, and I'm so inspired by the spark to make it happen and to make it happen for Black community. If folks do want to catch up with Washington Therapy Fund and maybe apply for one of those amazing positions, how do they find you guys?
They can find us on Instagram at WA Therapy Fund. We have a website, watherapyfund.com. We're also on Facebook, WA Therapy Fund Foundation. So those are going to be some of the main ways that you could reach out to us. You can contact Deontay, myself, my platforms at Therapy with Ash. We're really accessible, get back to you. So definitely reach out.
VP at watherapyfund.com.
Wow. Well, thank you both so much for being here. Again,
Said that a little low. VP at watherapyfund.com.
Yeah.
Everybody can email.
Right.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
email.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you guys again for bringing such a powerful message on this Feel Good Friday. You guys have uplifted my energy.
Can I just say thank you very much? This is my first time coming to Converge. O's been trying to get me come before, but I just want to let y'all know that how much I appreciate y'all through the spaces of what was going on in the pandemic and everything. Y'all were showing up, and I know that y'all probably have dealt with a lot of things, but you guys keep going. So I'm praying for continuing to excel, continue to elevate, because you'll never deflate. And I just appreciate y'all.
Thank you
so much.
And I need to piggyback and just thank you again. I love y'all. You, the whole team, everyone here is so amazing. And thank you for continuing to uplift the importance of mental health, therapy, my work. I cannot thank you all enough. You don't know how much it means to me.
It's very genuine love here. Okay, if y'all don't know.
Yeah, can I get that hat though?
Yeah,
That's
you
what
know
I
what I'm
want.
saying? You know what I'm saying? Trying to
I know y'all all have the hats today.
Yeah, right.
Hey, you guys are always welcome right here on the Morning Update Show. Anytime you guys have updates, reach out to us. We would love to keep our community informed and engaged on the work of WA Therapy Fund. And thank you both for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much.
And thank y'all for your energy for